Hey everyone, this is Ryan from Aethix Fitness, and you're listening to the Aethix Approach podcast, the podcast where we highlight inspirational up-and-coming vegan and plant-based athletes that you've probably never heard of yet, and what they do to absolutely kill it on a plant-based diet. If you haven't already, it would really help out if you subscribed to, liked, commented, and or shared any of the content I'm producing, including this podcast, free articles and training programs on aethixfitness.com, videos on the Aethix Fitness YouTube channel, and more. I truly appreciate all of you guys for the love and support. In today's episode, I'm joined by vegan powerlifter Eddie Baumgartner. Eddie has been competing in powerlifting for years now, and he's hit a 555-pound wrapped squat, 308-pound bench press, and 533-pound deadlift in competition. He's also recently made the switch to equipped powerlifting, which cued a discussion about the differences between raw and equipped powerlifting, and how raw powerlifting in particular has become so much more popular over the recent years. We also talk about Eddie's reasons for going vegan years ago, an average day of eating for him, how alcohol affects training performance, our thoughts on lab-grown meat, and tons more. It's clear that Eddie is very passionate about powerlifting and veganism, and it really shows in the conversation we had here. I hope you all enjoy the episode as much as I enjoyed our chat. All right, what's up, guys? This is Ryan with Aethix Fitness, and today I'm here with Eddie Baumgartner. Did I get that right?
Close enough. It's Baumgartner. You're saying it the real way, but and out here in the Americas, it's Baumgartner. So
Are you German?
Family Swiss. I took German for 4 years, passed the AP exam, lived in Germany for 2 months, but technically American.
Do you speak any German at all?
Ja, ein bisschen. Nur ein bisschen. Mir meine Schwester und meine Bruder und jeden Tag. So it's okay. It's really bad, dude, though. It used to be really good. Like I said, I passed the AP exam, but kind of that was a decade ago almost now. Probably almost actually 15 years ago. So that's a long time ago.
Yeah, man. That's so funny. I went to Berlin a few years ago, and I took German for 3 years in high school, and I knew jack shit. Like I could not speak anything. It was so bad.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember like literally last 2 years ago, there was a beer fest in the city I live, and there was some dude speaking German. I started speaking to him, and I was like, "Oh, I was apologizing." He's like, "Your grammar is very good. It's okay." I was like, "All right, I guess I still got it."
Oh yeah, you passed the check. I guess you passed the test.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So do you want to do a quick little intro about yourself, who you are, what you do, kind of things like that?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Eddie Baumgartner. I'm a teacher by trade. I teach physical education in high school, along with health and weights in a soccer specific class. I also coach shot put and discus for about 12 years now. My main hobby is lifting. So obviously I prefer equipped lifting. We'll get into that. I've been vegan for 5.5 years. Took it 2 years, in between. I was eating a lot of meat just because of reasons that are ridiculous. But before that, I was vegetarian for 7 years. So I've been essentially plant-based for a while now.
Okay. Yeah, I've been vegan for, I guess almost, 5 years, I think? I forget, but we've been, I guess, about the same amount of time then, roughly.
Yeah.
But I was vegetarian for 4 years before that. Were you also, you said you were a vegetarian for 9 years before you went vegan?
It was about 7.
Wow.
Short story long, as we all say. I was dating a beautiful woman who became my wife, and she was like, "I'm gonna go vegetarian for a little bit." And I was like, "I don't know about if I'll do that. I'll eat fish." And so I was eating fish, and then I got into a little bit of the ethical and morality reasons about being vegetarian at the time when you're 19, 20, 21. You don't really think too hard about it, but you're still thinking. And I was like, okay, I'll go vegetarian for a while. So lacto-ovo for a very long time, 7, 8 years about. And then one random night we were at a drive-in with a bunch of friends. We were drinking a lot. We were 26-ish, 25-ish. And I ordered nachos, and I came out and brought them out. And it was, a couple King Cobras later, I was looking at these nachos, and I was like, man, these nachos are really good. I don't know what's going on with them. And one of my good friends, he was like, yeah, there's pork in those. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not vegetarian anymore.
Oh,
and then there was a really slippery slope of I was like, okay, well, I'm not vegetarian. So I went out and found a local farmer, bought a bunch of local meat, was eating like little pasture raised beef, pasture raised chickens. I was eating offal, like the livers and things of animals.
Yeah.
And then literally just downgraded to me eating like McDonald's. And I hated it, dude. I honestly hated it. And I got really fat. I was like really like unhealthy weight, like 250, 260. And I went to a bachelor party and I came home and my wife went vegan. She was like, I'm tired of this. Like, I'm tired of eating all this crap. I want to go back to being vegan, or I'm going to go strict to vegan. I was like, okay, you go ahead. I'll keep eating meat. I was eating like a couple of pounds of meat a day. It was pretty unhealthy. And then I came home from the bachelor party. I was hungover as heck. And she was like, I had a movie for you to watch. And it was Earthlings. And so I sat there hungover as all hell watching Earthlings. And I was like, oh shit. All right, I'll try going vegan for a month. And as long as it doesn't impact my strength gains, then I'll do it. And then literally my lifts continued to go up. And I was like, I felt morally better. I mean, health better is, it's hard to tell. All my blood markers were better, I guess you could say. But I just stuck to it, man. And I literally have loved it ever since. I don't see any reason not to be vegan, honestly.
Yeah, man, that's there's a lot to unpack there, dude. So you're 100% like at this point vegan for ethical reasons. It sounds like you kind of got into it for ethical reasons too, right?
Right. Yeah. Like honestly, yeah, it's all ethically and morally based. Yeah. There is health benefits. We could discuss that. I mean, you've had great people on the podcast before, but I mean, you could discuss that ad nauseum. You can look at stuff, but I honestly think that health is so independent and health is so like human individualistically based that for someone to have a blanket statement that says you have to eat all plant-based and like an alkalinic diet and drink water all day for you to be healthy, I'm kind of like, I don't really agree with that. I think that you could be healthy on all different types of diets. Like, I know I have friends who are in extreme great health and they eat meat and I don't give them crap. I mean, we discuss the moral ethics, the ethics of it, but yeah. So long answer, but yeah, it's for the ethics.
Yeah, I completely agree too, man. I originally got into being vegan from like, I had a nutrition class in college. And I went vegetarian because of it, but I wanted to go vegan because I thought it was like the way to go for health. Because the teacher had us watching like you probably watch these like Forks Over Knives and like stuff like that. And I feel like we've all watched these documentaries. Like even if you're like an ethical vegan, I mean you've probably watched the health ones too,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so like I got into it for that at first, and then I was vegetarian for 4 years because I was like a broke college kid, and then I went vegan, and then then I was like, dude, I'm doing this now for like I want to go vegan for like the moral purposes, So I'm definitely in the same boat with you on that, because then I kind of got more into the health research, and I was like, you know what? Like, I feel like if you just like are smart about what you're eating, you can be healthy. Like, you can eat animal products and be healthy, like you said, as long as you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables too, I would say. But
I agree.
I was like, you literally cannot argue with the moral aspect of it,
100% agree with that statement. Yeah. It's like, you could literally base your diet off of anything and just include a high amount of plants and you'll be fine. But like at the end of the day, there's no such thing. I don't care who you are, as a ethically killed meat or whatever. Like,
were you lifting through this whole time when you were kind of like, transitioning into like going vegan, or even before when you're vegetarian?
Yeah, I've been so my lifting career is very, very strange and long-winded. So I did sports in high school. I did football as a sophomore, but it was really not my cup of tea. I got like concussed a couple times. It just wasn't fun. The people were kind of really negative, I would never downgrade anybody, but it was just like, I didn't like the energy. And then I was helping my dad I was like 15 years old or whatever. And I was helping my dad clear out some weeds in the backyard or whatever. And he was like, hey, I told him, actually, I was like, hey, I want to play baseball. It's the America's pastime. I want to play baseball. And he looked me dead in the eyes and he said, you're not playing baseball. You're not meant for baseball. And I was confused by that, because it's your father. You expect him to always back you up. And he was like, those kids that have been playing baseball have been playing baseball for 10 years at least. If you go out there, you're going to be playing against these extremely athletic individuals. Yeah. So he said, why don't you try track and field? So I tried track and field, and it literally changed my life. It was like, I don't know if you really believe in like time splitting moments or anything like that, or like you look back and reflect on your own life and you think about a time where something happened and completely changed your whole outcome of your life. But that was the first moment that ever happened to me. My dad saying, hey, go into track and field. So I went into track and field, did shot put and discus in high school. I was the weakest person on the team. I graduated high school. I couldn't squat. I couldn't squat over 185. I couldn't bench more than 95 pounds.
What was your height and weight in high school when you were doing this?
I was 6 foot and like 180. You know, I was kind of just a fluffy dude that didn't really care that much. Like I cared because I was really good technically at the sport. So that's why I really liked the sport, because I was better than my friends. And then after I got out of high school, went to junior college and I joined a swimming class just to get into better shape. And similar to how you said, I was just based on the fact of being a broke college kid, I was eating rice and lentils all day and like one fried egg over the top, you know? And so I was like losing weight rapidly. So I dropped down to like 165. I was like a skinny kid, swimming like 4 hours a day because I took back-to-back swimming classes. And then I was going to the gym and doing Muay Thai just for fun. I just really enjoyed it, and jiu-jitsu also. And I was rock climbing. So like in junior college is where my like athletic potential sort of exploded, you know, from the ages of like 18 to like 20. I was like, I'm just going to go hard. Like, why not?
And you were vegetarian at this time?
Yes, I was vegetarian. I was vegetarian from the age of like 19 on, really. Yeah. And so like I went hard, and then like I was realizing I was sucking at everything. And I was like, why am I sucking so bad? Like, what's going on here? Right. And so I was looking around, reading. This was back, you know, I'm 33. So I'm talking like 2007, 2008, 2009. So there wasn't really like the YouTube that is now. And so
it was before being vegetarian or vegan was cool at all.
Yeah. And also like, there wasn't like, you know, you couldn't just type in, you know, vegan strength gains, or like you couldn't find beautiful people like you on the internet. It was just like,
oh, I'm blushing, man.
Yeah, there was like nothing, you know what I mean? So I found this website called elitefts.com. They still exist actually. Yeah. And so I found that website and I was following a bunch of strength training athletes on there, just like their training logs. And I was like, this shit is dope. And this was back in the heyday when everybody was doing multiply and fucking single ply. And I was like, oh, I want to do that so bad, but I was broke. I couldn't afford it. So I joined just like the weightlifting like class at my junior college and started doing really basic ass shit. It was like CrossFit essentially. And it was great. I did good at it, but I was really, really weak and I didn't know what was going on. So I entered a powerlifting meet anyway. My first powerlifting meet was in 2012. So there's a little bit of time gap, but it's literally the same thing that whole time. And I squatted 315. I benched 225 and I deadlifted like 375. And I thought I was shit hot, right? I was like,
was this raw?
This is raw. So I've only ever done one equipped powerlifting meet, and I train equipped now. But like back then, this is how I got into it, was because I went there, right? And there was this guy there. His name was Harry Selko, and he used to be on Elite FTS. I think he's still on Elite FTS.
Okay.
And I was talking to him and I was like, hey man, this is really cool. I really like everything about this. And he was like, hey, if you ever need an extra credit or anything, I'll give you an internship. And I was like, oh, okay. That's pretty sick. And so I transferred from my junior college to my actual college, and I was still lifting there. It was all raw still. All throughout college was all raw. And I was like training in the old Sacramento State Gym. And it was growing good. It was going fine. And then I was like trying to get an internship at that school. I was like, oh, cool. They offer internships, because I thought my career path was going to go into, you know, athletic development and exercise science and things like that. And I did major in kinesiology, but it was for physical education, which is I did that for a whole other reason. But while I was there, I asked, I was like, hey, why don't you guys do like box squats and like speed deadlifts and, you know, banded deadlifts, banded squats, chains? And the head CSCS strength trainer literally looked me in the eyes and said, that doesn't build strength. There's no purpose in that. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, have I been like drinking the wrong Kool-Aid for like 6 years? You know what I mean? And no, I wasn't. And so I went back to Harry Selko. I emailed him and I was like, hey, do you still have that internship? And he was like, if you need it, come down here. So I went to his personal gym. Well, it wasn't his personal gym, but he was the head strength and conditioning like person there. And I essentially trained all of his clients, and it was all based upon like West Side and conjugate methods. And he taught me the basics, and then I developed it. And I was coaching like high school and collegiate athletes. I was coaching a motocross, like world athlete. I don't know. It was pretty cool. But yeah, that's what like got me into like severe strength training. And then it was just after that, it just got weird, man. It got really weird.
So I guess raw powerlifting back then really wasn't popular at all either, right? Wasn't like equipped still the bigger thing back then in general?
Yeah. So at the first meet that I ever did, there's a guy who's obviously probably pretty popular now. His name's Mark Bell. He like runs Slingshot and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mark Bell.
Yeah. I mean,
dude, the fucking meathead millionaire.
Yeah, the meathead millionaire. So at the first ever meet that I was there, and I was like, holy shit, he was there. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, because this was like 2012. I was like, what the fuck, man? This guy's massive right now. And he was doing multiply, and he literally benched like 850, and it was like in a shirt, and I was just amazed by it. It was so crazy. And I was like, how you doing? I'm Eddie. He was like, how are you? And just walked away. And I was like, well, this guy's tight. Like, this is dope. I want to kind of be like that. You know what I mean? Just a big bloat lord.
Fuck, man. I'm not surprised he's the kind of dude just kind of be like, hey, and then just leave. He doesn't seem like he's about like the guest service or the fan service at all, you know?
Yeah.
So then you kind of got into like equip lifting after that. So you only did one competition equipped, you said, right?
Yeah, only one. I've been training equipped for probably 18 to 24 months, but only one competition, just because like the pandemic kind of threw everything into a loophole. So
okay. And you kind of do like I don't really follow your training like super closely, but it kind of looks like you do like a conjugate sort of method, right?
It's actually like, dude, my training is I've listened to a few of your podcasts, and I don't remember who you had on, but people were talking about like how there's program jumpers, and I'm like ADD program jumper, man. It's hard for me. So
really?
Yeah. So I originally, when I got into equipped, I was like, okay, the only people who are strong at equipped is West Side, really. So I was like, I'm going to do conjugate. I base it off of my previous knowledge and things like that. But it fucking sucked, dude. It really sucked.
It wasn't working for you?
It didn't. I wasn't hitting PRs, man. I was doing like 8-week cycles and all this shit, and like 3 triple wave dynamic effort programming and things like that. It just wasn't working. So I was pissed. I was literally pissed. I was like in my garage, just pissed, because I train in my garage. I don't have a cool apartment gym, but I have a garage gym, and it's really nice. And I was in there, I was just like pissed, and I was thinking, and I was like, why don't I just go back to like linear periodization, because it's always worked for me. Like the first thing that ever made me get over a 405 deadlift was just 531, just basic linear periodization. And I was like, why don't I do that? But I add in like singles on my high days where it is X amount of poundage more, but I do it in my gear. So it's like my own really like bastardized version of adding and subtracting different percentages that have worked for me in the past, and doing like extremely long preps, like 22-week preps. And it always works, but I don't really know what it's like. It's kind of like RPE. It's kind of like RPE, really. Yeah. So like,
yeah, gotcha. So you kind of just hop around to a bunch of different stuff, but you kind of found one method that works for you more than others?
Yeah. So
is that a good way to sum it up?
Really, that is. Yeah. I picked a bunch of different stuff, and now I found a pathway that works. Yeah.
Gotcha. You kind of got into equip lifting because you were just like, damn, this is fucking cool. People are like benching 800 pounds, right?
That, and also the more that I was reading about it, it just sounded like, to be honest, like it's a weird question, right? Like, why would someone choose to wear extremely tight canvas and sweat their ass off and literally get bruises on their hips and on their armpits? Like, why would you choose that? But I think it was because I just wanted to change. Honestly, I was just getting tired of it, dude. Like, I was just getting tired of like the same powerlifting thing, and I didn't want to switch into bodybuilding, or I didn't want to switch into like anything else. So I was like, well, what's a very analogous thing that I can do? And so I was researching it, and also people were saying that like, you can do equipped lifting for your life because it doesn't screw up your hips, it doesn't damage your hips, your knees are all taken care of. And
so I know nothing about like equipped powerlifting, so I thought it would be. I know it's like a different world to me, but I would think that
that's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. I would think that it'd be like a different, like really hard on your joints, if anything.
No, dude, it's
really?
okay. So like I've done a lot of weird shit lifting just to find stuff that sticks. You know how like they say like you throw enough darts at the wall, something's gonna hit. And like I remember days of doing like Chico nonstop and like just being beat up after like everything being beat up.
I've done that shit too, and it just did not work for me at all.
Yeah, it sucks. And so it's
I thought I was running it wrong because it was going from like I ran the Shaco app and it was like going from like, all right, just do like I don't know, 8 sets of triples with like fucking like 60% of your 1 rep max. And I was like, that's it. And then it was like, all right, now you got to go test, do 100%, like go all out. And I'm like, I'm getting buried by like the lightest weight right now. I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, I think that's just built for different people. And I also like, I'm pretty sure I did a lot of research back in the day, but I mean, I may be speaking on my ass, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the people that did Chico were either equipped or like maybe on shit. You know what I mean? So their bodies were able to recover. So, I mean, it's Russia. I mean, they can do whatever the fuck they want, right?
For me, it was like, I don't know. It didn't feel like a ton of volume. It just felt like the intensities were just so low that I was just like speed work, basically.
Yeah. I think that's why it's like kind of some of the like, you know, some of the numbers like 25 through 32 or whatever most people run. I think those are like, I think those are actually are meant for equipped lifters. And like there's other programs that you're supposed to run, but then the other programs that you're supposed to run are like doing the same shit by like 80 to 85%. And so it's like which one that's why I'm saying, dude, it's so confusing. Like back in the day when you'd just find like some random forum and you'd be like, oh cool, this must work. Some other dude ran it, and then you test it and you just beat the shit after.
So I'm getting way off subject, but did you you know like Johnnie Candito, right?
I love Canditos. He's like one of my favorite YouTubers.
Canditos. Yeah, he was the guy. So like I was never like I never really wanted to get like big and strong. Like I always wanted to get strong, but I always be like lean, and I'm just like built to be like thinner. So I kind of just try to hover on like where I think I look and feel better, but also try to like lift for strength, even though like I'm a weak motherfucker.
I don't think that, but okay.
Yeah, but so Johnnie Candito was the one who was like, dude, this guy is like lean and he's strong as shit. Like squatting, like at the time he was squatting like, I don't even know, 600 pounds probably. I think he like bumped his total up by like a couple hundred more or something since then.
Yeah, he's gotten crazy. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But that guy, I ran his 6-week program, like kind of when I first started discovering like powerlifting, and like I was getting shit gains in the gym before that because I was following like a bro split for like years. And I was like, maybe I just can't build muscle at all. I switched over to his program and like strength training. And then I put on like another like 15, 20 pounds of like mostly muscle just from training for strength. And that dude, like I have so thankful I found that guy, because I feel like if you're like a natural lifter, especially, you have to fucking train for strength, and you have to like increase your frequency a little bit, you know, like the bro splits don't work.
I agree 100%, dude. I don't know when I first started watching Candito, but I never ran any of his programs. I downloaded all the free spreadsheets and looked at them and stuff. And because they were all very similar to the stuff that I was already doing, but I was just like, his videos are so funny, and I like the way he recaps stuff. Yeah, he's a good dude, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I think that like how old are you again? Are we like
I just turned 30. No, how long ago? I turned 30 like 4 months ago.
Okay, so I'm 3 years older, so it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
But I feel that a lot of times in our youth, we were just looking at people that were just extreme jack monsters, and we were like, oh, they're doing like a bro split, so I have to do that. And then
exactly. I think we started lifting probably around the same time too, because I was like 18, so roughly like in the days of like bodybuilding.com, right?
Right. I was so it's funny because like I never really did bodybuilding.com. I was more on I was on Elite FTS and just reading their shit and like commenting on their coaches' logs. And then I hate to say this, everyone's gonna hate me, but I was on the CrossFit forums like nonstop. That's all I did was just CrossFit forums.
Better off than bodybuilding.com, straight up. Way better off.
It was pretty cool. I mean, I recently refound my I was just like, oh shit, CrossFit forums still exist. This is weird. And I was like, I wonder if, and like, I searched my old username up, and I found all my logs and shit. And I was like, this is crazy. And it was all like, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty neat. And it was funny to see like the programming I was running back then. It was all essentially just bastardized 531. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, yeah, the CrossFit forums was where I was at. I was getting like weird shit, dude. I was getting people sending me like kefir. Do you know what kefir is, or kefir? You know what that is?
Isn't that like a type of like milk or like yogurt or something?
It's like so it's like a fermentable grain, a live bacteria, and then you use it to put it into milk, or you can make water kefir, and like it ferments it and you get probiotics from it. And this was when I first got into probiotics. I was hella young. I was like, oh, this sounds healthy.
Yeah.
And so some dude sent me kefir grains through the mail from CrossFit, and I was like making kefir. It was so weird, man.
Wow.
CrossFit forums are,
that is the most random thing ever.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And it's funny because I look back at it and I was like hype, like preachy vegetarian back then, like super like, you guys need to stop eating animals. I was like reading and I was like attacking people because I was like so young. And I was like, damn, man, I was an asshole kind of back then.
I think we all kind of go through like at least maybe like a little bit of that phase where we're like really emotional about it. And then we kind of like, I don't know, maybe not everybody gets over that phase, but like I feel like me and you are just probably the kind of guys who are just like, you know, obviously we recognize what sucks and we just are kind of like, you know what, we can't live our whole lives just always being stressed and like hating on people openly all the time. And you know, I feel like you're probably 100%. The same way, right?
Yeah, because like, you know, as a teacher too, I do subtle jabs and subtle things. Like when I teach nutrition, I always lead through all the nutrients, how to get them plant-based first, and then talk about the animal products at the end. I still talk about the animal products, but I'm always like, oh, you know, you can get K through this way, you can get vitamin D through this way, you can get calcium through this way before, and then like at the end, I'm like, oh yeah, milk, fish bone, things like that. And then like I have a vegan sweater, like it just says vegan on it. I think it's PETA. You know, I know people hate PETA, but I got it as a gift, and like I wear it all the time, and like people are like, oh shit, you're vegan? And I'm like, yeah, I've been vegan for a long time, and it's cool. And like I've had young athletes like go vegan for a little bit. One of my best throwers ever was vegan. He just graduated. He threw like 48.6 in the shot put with the 12-pound weight, which is pretty dang far. He just pulled 6'10" too. He's a beast.
High school?
He's a beast, dude.
Holy shit.
He's a beast. He's pretty strong.
How big is he? Like, what's his height and weight?
He's like 5'11", and he's fluctuates between 210 and 225, but he's currently like bulking. He eats like he's such a solid young man, but he also his diet's extremely weird. Like he just does like crazy perma bulks like that we all did when we were young. And he literally like goes across the street to the grocery store. Like he'd be my student aide. And he'd be like, hey, can I go across the street and get food? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And he'd come back with like a whole Marie Callender's pie and just eat it in one period and just like go to sleep. I was like, dude, what are you doing? This is not good.
Damn. 5'10" and like 210, 220 pounds. I mean, that's huge for a high schooler, but also that's not like for pulling those numbers and stuff. It's not like he's like huge. Like he's still got room to grow for sure.
He his like family is super strong. Like I coach his brothers too, and his brother's like his brother is on the Army powerlifting team at West Point, and he's like pulling like close to 700. They're just strong family. They got strong stock or whatever, you know.
Yeah, genetics are huge when it comes to strength and like building muscle, huh?
100%, I would say. Yeah, honestly, it's so important.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge factor. So, all right, so is there anything else where you feel like we should I am curious about like how you think like doing both equipped powerlifting and raw powerlifting, how you think it's different to train for each of them, maybe, or maybe like other differences like that. You know, what do you prefer? What do you know, things like that? What are your numbers difference maybe?
Right. Yeah. So I think that equipped powerlifting gets, first off, just a huge bad rap sheet because we've all seen the videos of like everybody squatting like a mile high and shit. But I think that single ply equipped powerlifting is kind of what powerlifting was birthed out of. You can look back and you can read, if you go into like the historical archives, however you say it, and like people used to just squat in suits and they're just like, that's what we squatted and that's all we had. Like that's how we squatted. We used canvas suits back in the 80s and 90s, but it was, or like the late 80s and stuff, but they didn't really call it equipped. It was just like squatting in that. So I think that equipped powerlifting single ply is like the best. I think it's what the sport should be, but I'm also kind of like, maybe I'm viewing it that way. But training differences, I train like 90 to 95% raw, honestly.
Oh, really?
And what you really just do is you work on like your weak points, which is what everybody should do anyways. So like, you know, I do like a main lift usually, like a normal day. I'm currently moving, so I haven't lifted in like 2 months, and I'm like foaming from the mouth, and it really sucks. But
2
on
months.
a normal day,
damn.
Yeah, dude, I'm like losing like obviously quote unquote losing your gains, but like I'm doing fine because I have a task with moving. But like normally I'm super hyper focused on lifting, so I'm like there's this like space, and I'm like, what's going on? It's the moving situation's kind of screwed, but we're doing really good now, so it's not that bad.
Nice.
But anyways, so like normal day, I'll work up to like doing like a couple singles raw at like 85 to 90% based upon like what week we're in. I'm just throwing these numbers out so you know.
Okay.
And then that's based off my raw max though. So it's not based off my equipped max. It's based off my raw max. And then I'll if I'm doing a squat day, we'll say, and my raw max was like 440 squat. And then I get crazy numbers out of my gear. I don't know if I'm doing it correctly, but I've passed it and IPF, well, USAPL, whatever. So it doesn't matter to me. It works. But so then what I'll do is I'll add anywhere from 20 to 40 kilos. All my plates are in kilos. I got a long time ago, I got my first garage gym from coaching track and field because I didn't get paid. And they were like, go into the container and take whatever you want. And so I went in there and I got like a full squat rack and like all my plates, but they were all like kilogram bumpers. So anyways, all my stuff's in like kilograms. So anyways, I'll squat like, we'll say 90% of 440. So whatever that is, like 400 for singles. And then afterwards I'll take like a 2 to 3 minute break. And then I'll add 40 kilos usually on squat day. So we're getting up to, what's like 180. So like 220-ish. So that's like close to 500-ish. And I'll just hit that for singles, like 2 to 3 singles, depending upon how I feel. And the reason I do that is because it's kind of like overloading so that my raw squat numbers still go up, but then I get practice in the gear because like squatting and deadlifting in gear and benching in gear is like more technique based than it is like just pure strength based. Like I literally, so like my best squat ever raw, like dead raw, no knee wraps, just a belt, was like 440-ish, 435, 437-ish, I think. And I literally squatted 605 in full gear, which is a single ply suit and knee wraps. So that's not like anything too crazy.
So you feel like that like a single ply suit and knee wraps would add about 150 pounds roughly?
Not on average, dude. Like honestly, people are like, I don't know how you get this much out of your suit. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Could it be
partly mental? I'm just curious.
I think it can. Yeah, that's a very good point because like, so like so a lot of my motivation in the gym comes from like weird television and like shows that I've watched throughout. And I'm really big into Dragon Ball Z. I don't know if anybody has ever watched Dragon Ball Z, but it's a good show. And there's
hasn't everyone who lifts watched Dragon Ball Z? Like,
I know, but I mean, somebody listening to this is like, what the hell is this young man talking about? That anime?
Dude, everyone I know watches. I heard Dragon Ball Super is really good. I gotta watch that still.
It's Super's hella good. Okay,
is it?
So anyways,
okay. Yeah, keep going.
Really good. So like Vegeta, like the Vegeta arc, right? Like he like Goku goes Super Saiyan first, and Vegeta's super pissed off because Vegeta was Prince of all Saiyans. He was supposed to be like the god tier Saiyan.
Yeah.
And then like he goes into like that point of no return, and he's like on planets, and the planets are collapsing, and he literally just like kind of gives up, and he's like, I don't care anymore. Like none of this matters. I don't care if I get killed right now. I've always just wanted to be Super Saiyan. And like I kind of like go into this weird depth mode of like everything sort of shuts off, and I'm just like, okay, well, you have stupid amounts of weights on your back and you're either going to die or you got to squat it. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, all right, let's just do it. And it usually works.
Kicks off.
Yeah, and usually it's like listening to weird music like Britney Spears' Work. That's like my hype song.
Really?
The best song. Yeah, dude, I love that song. It's like so good. It's so like, good. Have you ever heard it? Like no. Work. It's really good. Okay. I always say this and everyone's like, oh, it's pop, it's whatever. But if you listen to the lyrics, it's really good. She essentially is like, if you want things, you have to work for it, right? Because I really like braggadocious music. I really like music if I'm trying to get hyped up, like music that's like talking shit to nobody, but like it makes me feel like I'm saying those words.
That sounds like rap.
Like, yeah, it's mostly rap. And then there's also Slayer for some reason. Like I always listen to tons of Slayer and tons of like Coheed and Cambria. But like that song Work, like if that song comes on, it's like game over. I don't know what it is, dude. The tempo is really fast, and it's just like it sounds like some weird version of a human saying like, if you want things in life, then you're gonna have to go through shit. And
that's
so I'm like,
good.
And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like this squat's probably gonna fucking suck. I'm probably gonna take off my knee wraps. and I'm going to have bruises. I'm probably going to have bruises on my hips. But it doesn't matter, because at the end of the tunnel is going to be like hopefully another state record, or like even more, keep going and going and going. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that equipped and raw go hand in hand, but equipped is like adding, you know, the like sprinkles on top of the proverbial frosting on the cake.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yeah, I've heard so many things about like equip lifting, like having to change your exercise selection a lot and stuff. And I've heard a lot of box squats can help with. I mean, I know nothing, so I'd like to hear your opinion. Do you think that's the case?
I think it's very beneficial. I did box squats for a very long time, but then I also found that I didn't really care for them. Honestly, I think that, you know, going back to how we spoke in the beginning about diets and human health, I think that it's an individual based thing. So it's like, yes, you can take a cookie cutter program from Westside, from Conjugate, which uses box squats heavy, and throw it in. But where are you failing on your lift? Are you failing out of the hole? Like, do you suck in the bottom of your squat? Well, then do some box squats, right? Or maybe you suck in the mid area of the squats. Maybe you do good mornings, and maybe you need to do pin squats, or like, you know, you got to find which part sucks of your lift and then work on that. So like for me, for squatting, I've, you know, knock on wood, I've always been good out of the hole. I usually get stuck in like the top half. And I think that has to do with just like weaknesses I have in my body. So I do a lot of glute work, like really glute specific work, which I literally hate glute work so much because I get like cramps after and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely not fun.
Dude, glute cramps and ab cramps are the two worst cramps I've ever had.
Ab cramps, like while you're running or something, that kind of
Anything.
feeling?
Literally like your abs like feeling like they're contracting and you're doing nothing. Like you'll be driving home and then your abs like lock and you're like, oh God, and you have to keep driving home. Yeah.
I don't think I ever really got those. I got like the runner's cramp, you know?
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I think I may run in a dehydrated state a lot of the time from a lot of caffeine that I drink. And so.
How much caffeine do you usually drink a day? Out of curiosity.
A lot. Like, so
like
when
mostly coffee or
a mixture of things. So like peak level caffeine consumption when I was in like getting my teaching credential and work. So I was teaching Monday through Friday and working 32 hours a week at Home Depot and going to school. I was consuming like 1 gram at least caffeine a day, which is like a lot.
That's a fuck ton.
Most people don't consume that much. And now it's like I'm dialed back to like 300 to 500 milligrams a day.
Wow.
So yeah. And
that's so funny. Yeah. I remember so I was doing like so I'm a freelancer with what I do. I work in like visual effects and video editing and stuff, like the video world of like TV and movies and stuff. And so I work on set sometimes, and I had a booking for a couple months that was like, you know, usually on set days like 12 to 14 hours. So I was doing like 60-hour weeks and stuff regularly, while also working another job too on top of that, which was on the computer, like outside of, well, I would try to balance it while I was working on set too. But either way, I was consuming like probably 300 milligrams a day. And for me, I was like, this is so much. This is fucking insane. I feel like terrible. Like, and then so I got off the caffeine cold turkey, and that's when I got all the withdrawal symptoms. And you can't do that, I learned.
No, you cannot, dude. That is horrible. Like, this is the issue is like, I do like I do try to abstain from it from time to time. And I do like, you know, I try to take breaks. Like currently I'm on summer break. So I'm trying to stay like under 2 cups of coffee a day. Okay, that's chill. You can do that. But then like, if I like go like, you know, if it's like a long, busy day, I'm like, dude, it's literally 3 o'clock. I'm going to go get a very big iced coffee or a cold brew and just chug this thing.
This is a good segue into the topics of like, I guess balancing certain habits with like, I don't know, athletic performances or like trying to stay healthy. So like alcohol also, I mean, I also think the caffeine aspect is really interesting, but like to kind of segue a little bit more into the like alcohol consumption and stuff. I know that you're also like a beer connoisseur, right? So you're
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool. All right. So I also am, I consider myself a bit of a beer connoisseur, you know, not too much, but a little bit. And I wanted to talk to you about like what you think about just general like alcohol consumption and how that affects physical performance and stuff. What do you think?
I literally brought a beer just for this segment. So
hell yeah.
Yes.
What do you got there?
Sierra Nevada Tropical Torpedo. I love Sierra Nevada. It's like was the first big time pale ale beer that I got. Okay. And then I turned into like an extreme hop head guy. But I think that Beer is like such a slippery slope for a lot of people, because if you're not worried about calories, then like you could probably get away with a lot. But when I was like at my heaviest, I was drinking a lot, dude. I was drinking hella beer like all the time, didn't care. I was also eating just whatever I wanted. And like this beer, I didn't check even, but I'm sure if I scan the calories, it's probably in the neighborhood of like 320 for 12 ounces. And you're not going to drink one beer. Yeah, no, you're not going to drink one beer.
What's the ABV?
7.2.
Oh, that's not even like that high. 320 calories for that one? Damn.
I'm pretty sure it's probably like 280. I try to overestimate, so I can balance my calories. Yeah. But like,
do you use MyFitnessPal or anything to track them usually?
I do.
Okay.
I slipped off, but I'm doing the whole like body recomp thing for the next like 8 to 9 months just for funds. But so I'm getting back into it pretty hardcore. But yeah, I think that like the biggest issue with beer is that like people like stigmatize alcohol, right? And they don't think about how human beings throughout our whole entire lives have always used mind altering substances to just get a certain edge off the day or even to enhance their day. And then alcohol has been one that we've used forever. You can do the research, like the medieval times, water was unsafe. So they made beer out of their water so people could have beer. Given that beer was like 3% alcohol, 2.5% alcohol. So like beer is such an ingrained part of humans. And I think that it stays with us, right? And so in society today, especially in like sports, during commercial breaks, if you watch like mainstream sports, like we'll say football or baseball, I'm like, it's just beer advertisements the whole time. So they're literally just like, hey, chill back, have some beer. It's no big deal. And it's like, so it's ingrained in us to just have beer. And then people drink so much beer and they go, why am I not in shape? Like, I don't get it. I'm exercising ad nauseum. I'm literally like running 30 miles a week. I'm literally doing all this. And it's like, what'd you do on Friday night? Like a 24 PBRs? Like what else was I supposed to do? Is Friday?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think there's a very there's a fine line, you could say, of how much beer you should be drinking and how much beer a lot of people drink, like for, especially with athletic performance. I don't know, honestly.
Yes. So let's say like, how do you personally feel like you're affected if you have like, I don't know, let's say just like just like a few beers, like three to four beers, right, like for a Friday night or something, and the next day you have to train. How do you feel like that would affect you?
Honestly, dude, I've trained hungover and it doesn't affect me. If I'm hell bent on something, if I'm like, hey, even if I'm not training for a competition, but if I've like, if I've established my programming, I usually program in like 22-week blocks. I don't know what that number's from, but that's just what I do. And so if I'm like, oh, I was supposed to train today and you decided for some reason, I always talk to myself in the past tense, like you decided, past Eddie, to drink 3 beers and stay up all night playing Destiny 2. But then once I get into my working sets, it's kind of fine, honestly, for me. Yeah. So like, I think the biggest negative aspect is the weight gain, honestly, for me, honestly.
I kind of agree. And I know some people who obviously, when you're hungover, you're going to feel like shit sometimes, but I'm kind of the same way. Where maybe I kind of just like plan more intelligently, where like I know if I'm going to drink a lot, I plan to not train the next day. Cause I usually work out, anywhere from 4 to 5 days a week, but I usually try to make sure that if I'm going to go out, I'm not going to like plan for a really hard workout the next day. And that's kind of how I usually do it. But I've definitely, like in college and stuff, I would get shit faced and then go to the gym and be totally fine. Granted, I'm like, this is 6 years later now, so I don't know if it'd be way different for me now, but I've never really had a terrible time with being hungover and working out either. So
no, I honestly,
you hear it all the time though.
Yeah, I think that it's I hate to be so cliche, but I think it's like a clickbaity advertisement thing, because I know that like I researched it before. I've been like, so alcohol has to have a performance on something, like it has to be doing something. So you go onto Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo, whatever search engine, and you're just like, you're like, why, blah blah blah, alcohol in this, and like there has been studies that have shown like consuming mass amounts of alcohol can lead to lower amounts of testosterone levels. So then you go get your testosterone levels checked and you're well within range, and you're like, oh, so then what the fuck? Like what's going on?
Yeah, so even then, that's a great point. The hormonal impact of it. I've read about that too. And the thing is that there's always going to be like transient fluctuations in like certain hormones. Yeah. So if you go out and get fucking trashed and you don't sleep well and stuff, your testosterone is going to go back down for like a night, And then the next day, yeah, it's not gonna be great, but you can still get jacked from having low testosterone levels, which is something people don't talk about a lot. And plus one day,
man.
Yeah, one day isn't gonna do anything. One day is not gonna do anything.
No.
Also, like, to even build off that even further, if you're training towards a goal, like you said, you work out, like, you plan your cycle, your program designs for 22 weeks or so, having one workout that's like maybe even, a little less good than usual, you're still getting the work in. And in my opinion, it's not going to detract at all. I mean, maybe for some people, if they're going out and getting trashed all the time and, way too much, and yeah, maybe cumulatively over time would have an effect. But yeah.
I agree with that statement a lot. Like, I think that first off, like, one bad day out of 7 times 22, whatever that is, the 150 days isn't really going to do anything. Like, you could be stone sober and have a really shitty day in your programming,
for sure,
just because of, like, at work, you got to deal with a bad person, or like you come home and you forgot, and then like your dog threw up or something, and you can still have like a bad day. And that's doesn't have to do with alcohol at all. And then that could stem off that. So I think that like having one day isn't going to mess you up. I would agree with you though, that like, if you're raging like nonstop, it probably isn't going to be good. Like if you're like, like it's 4 o'clock somewhere or whatever, 5 o'clock somewhere, and you're just getting hammered. Like I definitely did that during college. And that's probably why I haven't had extreme strength gains, is because like I had this really wobbly base in the beginning where I was just like partying and doing all the dumb shit. But you learn from that kind of, I think.
Yeah, I would say I guess I have a lot of thoughts about this actually, because my mind keeps going everywhere. But I would say that like as long as people are consistent enough to the point where like even if they do drink a decent amount, as long as they get in the gym and then do something on that day maybe, and don't just plan to just not go for multiple days, because that obviously spirals into one day after another. I think as long as they're at least getting in the work, that's the most important thing. And then plus the aspect of just just back to genetics again, if you're like genetically just blessed with getting jacked and strong as hell, you could train like shit all the time, almost like a lot of the time, and still just be super strong. I think it's like if you're trying to reach that peak level for yourself, that's maybe when it gets harder and harder to like do things that are negatively impact your performance. That's
yeah, dude, I agree with that so much. Like, first off, I think that like genetics are going to play a huge role in it. Like, you could have like your partner could have like 2 drinks and they could be like shit faced, and then like you're like sitting there like 5 drinks in, you're like, no, I could literally play soccer, like we're good. Like it does, you know what I mean? So genetics are going to have a huge impact on how your body like metabolizes anything. So that's just the whole thing. And I also think that as you get closer and closer to like your goal or your peak, I would say that probably most people will cut that shit out. Like I know that like the week of like a powerlifting meet, I'm like, I just won't drink because I'm gonna like set up to rage that night. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna be like, I'll party, like drink for my accomplishments, as Drake says, and I'll just go and have a good time during that time. So
that's just being
sort
smart,
of put
though.
it off. Yeah, that's true. But I will say something about sports and drinking. Like this may not predominantly do with just powerlifting, but I also play disc golf recreationally, which is a really fun sport. But I always bring beer with me, and I call them PEDs, which are performance enhancing drinks. And so like after 2 beers, dude, there's something that happens. I don't know what it is. And I'm pretty sure probably people have experienced this before. I'm pretty sure there's famous people that have experienced this. But after like 2 beers, you're in like this weird zone where you're more likely to take risks, but you're not like hurting yourself and like fumbling over yourself. And like you just do everything better. Like I do the same thing with like, when I play FIFA. Like I play FIFA a lot, which is a soccer video game. I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah, I'm a video game junkie. We haven't touched on that yet, but yeah, I'm a fucking nerd.
Okay, cool. I'm glad. And like whenever I play FIFA, I'll have like 1 beer and then I'll just like go hard. I don't know what it is. That I think stems off of something that when I was going to Sacramento State, I used to like they had like a video game section, which was $5 an hour, and you can play whatever you wanted. And we carpooled with 4 people, and so we'd have all this free time. My buddy would buy us like beer because he had a lot of financial aid, and he'd be like, "Oh, I'll buy you guys some beer," and then we would buy beer, drink beer, and go play FIFA. And I think that like maybe that's why that happens. But I think there's like you could do research. I mean, who someone can. I'm pretty sure there's like this weird equilibrium zone where like you have certain amount of blood alcohol content, like 0.02 or whatever, and you're like more loosey.
I'm gonna completely agree with you on that, because that two drink, you hit that flow state, you're just like confident enough to, improve your performance a little bit, but also, like you said, you're not getting like the actual detriments from alcohol. But I mean,
exactly,
from my personal experience, so I've grown up like skateboarding my whole life, and I would
nice.
always go out with my buddies and we would just like crush, 6-packs and stuff. And there was a point where like you'd have like 2 or 3 drinks and you'd feel like just confident enough to like try more stuff, but also your performance wouldn't, like your physical coordination and stuff, it would still be there. So I know I completely agree with you.
Yeah, it's like this weird zone. Like everybody that when we play disc golf, we always bring like 2 beers and we're like, all right, this should be plenty. And then you're just like, drink one on the front, like first 3 holes, and then you drink another one and you're like in the zone making crazy putts. Yeah, dude, it's like this weird energy. I don't know what it is.
Do you feel like after a certain amount though, you'd notice like you can't play as well?
Oh yeah. When it's like your buddy's like, dude, I got a couple more beers, and you're like, because you're already feeling confident from having 2 beers. So like, yeah, throw me another one. And then it's like, it just all starts to go downhill.
Yeah. That's when you just start having fun and just stop taking it seriously, I guess.
Yeah. Talking crap mostly the whole time. Yeah. But yeah.
So what even is disc golf? I don't really know.
Disc golf, it's the best. It's the best sport of all time. So it's essentially it's ball golf. Well, it's like my favorite recreational sport, even though like the world championships just happened and it was like there was crazy results that came from that. But it's essentially ball golf, but you use discs, which are like frisbees, and they have different shapes and like molds, and the different shapes and molds will like fly differently and react differently depending upon how you throw it. But it's usually played like in really nice like naturey areas, and everyone's super chill. Like you can bring beer, you can bring anything you want to consume, and just like do whatever you want. Like there's no issues. Like everyone's super chill about it. I mean, you can't get like belligerent, obviously, but right. And the cool thing is it's free. It's free almost everywhere. So wow. If you play ball golf, you're gonna have to pay like $60 for a round or whatever. And you're gonna have to buy the clubs, which are gonna be anywhere from like really cheap clubs like $300 to like expensive clubs like thousands of dollars. For disc golf, you spend like $30 on a starter pack of discs and just go play and have a good time.
Oh, that's good to know. That does sound really cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. And the World Championships just happened, and it was literally like one of the most craziest shots that ever happened in the history of disc golf. I highly recommend that everyone look up the James Conrad shot from the World Championships, and you'll be like, holy shit, that was wild.
That just happened? Wild.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, doesn't need to be said, spoiler alert, but it was featured as the *1 play on ESPN Top 10. And like, it was essentially, they were going into the 18th hole, and the guy that's a 5-time world champion, he like all he had to do was get a birdie to get the hole to like win the whole world championships. And so he like approached the hole essentially just like any other golf, and like got it onto the green with like an easy tap in for a birdie. And then James Conrad was like 252 feet out, sun in his eyes, like this, like it was like a movie, and he throws just this ripper, bro, and it goes and it lands in the net, and like people, and so like disc golf nets, they're like these giant chain things that come down so the disc can hit them and like fall in.
Okay.
And so it's like this magical shot. Like if you, after this podcast, you should look it up and you can watch it, and it's crazy. And then so he ties Paul McBeth going into the 18th, so then go playoff holes, and James Conrad wins the playoff hole, and it's like his first world championship. It was really cool to watch. I was watching it live. I was just like losing my shit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I heard the name before, but I never watched it at all. So that sounds awesome. I'll definitely check it out. James Conrad, you said?
Yeah, he's just won the world championship. He seems like a cool dude. I mean, dude, it gets so weird. You could have a whole podcast talking about disc golf, but like, because there's different brands, and then the different brands have different athletes, and then so it gets crazy. But it's really fun for recreational, hanging out with the friends, with your partner. If you have kids, take your kids. I bring my dog, and we just let the dog run wild, and I'm out there just hucking discs. It's a great time.
Any place where you can get together with the bros and just crush some beers and just throw things. Hell yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah, man. Of course.
All right. So there's I guess there's one other really big thing I want to touch on, and we talked about the lab grown meat stuff, and like kind of like tying that back to veganism. And like, I guess, so lab grown meat is becoming more popular in terms of just like being a thing that's actually going to probably happen. It seems like they're actually doing stuff with like, cell-based meat, like they're getting a sample of like the animal. I don't even know how they're doing it really. Do you?
I'm pretty sure what they do is they take like a muscle sample of a living animal.
But they don't have to kill the animal though, right?
No, so it's kind of like how they can take tissue samples of humans. If you ever have to get like a muscle sample for some reason, I'm pretty sure you could argue that does cause harm to the animal. That'd be like a very loose argument. I don't know. It could be a loose argument, but then that's a whole loose argument of people saying like, oh, then you could just eat eggs because there's no problem with eating eggs. But I don't know. So they basically like a muscle cell.
Yeah, they get the cell, and then from that they can make I thought like an infinite amount of meat, basically, or almost
right.
infinite.
Yeah.
So it's like,
so I'm pretty sure it's just one time.
Yeah, in my opinion, that is for how many lives they'd be saving for animals. That is so justified in every single way, 100% justified. I mean, that's like sparing billions of animals' lives.
I agree with you 100%, honestly.
So your opinion on it. So when it does come out and it's like accessibly globally in grocery stores and stuff, would you eat it?
Yeah, take my vegan card. I'm gonna try it, dude. I just don't see. I don't know. Because I miss brisket. Okay, let's be real. I miss brisket a lot. Like that's one of my main things I miss. And if they're like, oh, we have, brisket, but it's all lab grown, I'd be like, okay, I'll buy it. I'll buy it,
But I would argue that that's still vegan though, if it's lab grown meat, because it's so ethical. I mean, I guess some people could try to argue against it, but in my personal opinion, that is 100% justified in every way.
Dude, I'm in your boat. I'm just saying that someone out there in the world is going to say this isn't vegan because it essentially came from an animal. But then that argument is like, okay, well then take away all of the like medicine that you've ever taken, essentially.
Exactly.
Take away all the antibiotics that you've ever had because we had to figure out how to use those. Like take away any vaccine you've ever taken. So it's like, it's kind of a slippery ass slope. But
Great fucking point, man.
I will take it. Honestly, I'm gonna eat it. I mean, I'm gonna eat it.
I'll take the lab grown meat pill. No, I was gonna say, so that's a great point you just touched on. Just the fact that anything pretty much that's used at all, even any food, any medicine, any vaccines, whatever, they've always done something that tests on animals. Even I was looking up all the common ingredients that were tested on animals originally. So table salt is tested on animals, or was tested on animals. I mean, everything, refined sugar, literally any single food you can imagine that isn't like, I don't know, spinach, probably. I mean, that probably still has too. It's been tested on animals.
Like, you could argue that like, even with the mass farming that we have at scale, that like rodents and insects and things like that get killed. So it's like, there's just such a like a hyperbole, or however you say that, like people are just like, no, this is vegan and this isn't. It's like, bro, it's at the end of the day, you just do your best. That's it. Cause the least amount of harm and do your best.
That's all it's about. And you kind of just even said there, it's like a common like, I guess, omnivore argument to be like, oh, well, if you're going to eat plants, you're going to get by-kill or whatever from harvesting fields and stuff. And it's kind of like, all right, well, you got to pick your battles a little bit. It's like, you could, go ahead and go eat that directly, or you could eat the meat, which, that food that they're harvesting anyways is going to be fed to them anyways. So
I always say that one. I always say that one.
Well, because like, how are you going to debunk that? I don't know. It just makes no logical sense for someone to hear that and be like, oh, that makes no sense. I mean, it clearly makes sense. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. It's like, I hate that argument so much, because like I've had people say it to me, like especially students, because teenagers, like I said, I teach high school. They're just so like, we were all that way. So I will never say anything's wrong with the youth, but like they're so hell bent, and they're like, but you're vegan, and where do you think your soy comes from? They're gonna kill X, Y, and Z. I'm like, you're eating cows that are fed corn, and the corn's already getting harvested by the same machines. That's going to kill those animals, and then the monocrop culture is going to kill the topsoil. And then they get like looking at me with weird eyes, and I'm like, you started it. You wanted to have this conversation.
And that's so funny. Even then though, so if people do all switch to lab grown meat, there wouldn't have to be the animals that would be fed the grains that are harvested for the animal, so it's even more ethical, I would argue, to actually support lab grown meat. I think you could very well make a point for that. Don't you think so?
I would agree with that statement so much, but as well as I do, there's going to be these people that are going to be like, no, I have to have, just like the rhino horn thing. I don't know if you pay attention to this, but like you know, obviously you probably do because you care about animals, but like rhinos get killed just for their horns. And then they figured out already how to grow exact clone rhino horns. And they're like, this is the exact same thing. And people are like, no, it didn't come from a real rhino. I don't want it. It's like, it's literally molecular exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, it's just some shit, you know?
I didn't hear about that actually, but I could understand already the train of thought there. They're like, oh, well, it avoids the whole like, the game catching thing or whatever they call it.
Dude, it gets so weird. Like there's this great show I would highly recommend. I don't know, some people might think I'm weird for saying it, but it's called Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. It was on Vice. It was pretty good. It talks about like hallucinogenics. I'm not going to promote hallucinogenics on your podcast, don't worry. But
I'm actually doing I'm doing a podcast with somebody in a couple of weeks about it.
Okay, cool. Well, okay. Well, anyways, but there's this one thing that's like they call it like the toad, and I don't remember exactly what it is. This has some weird molecular compound, and
you lick the back of it, right? And
they squeeze the glands on the toad, and then the toad squirts something and it hits glass, and they dry it on glass, and they scrape that off, and then you smoke it, and you go into like literally the other worlds. I haven't done that. I've done other weird shit. But anyways, they have been able to synthesize it. Literally the molecular compound, it reacts the same way. And this guy Hamilton, he goes and he like shows people all the data. He's like, this is the data. Like you can do the exact same thing and you won't have to harm this endangered species. And they're like, I want the toad. I want the toad. And it's like, bro, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
I want the toad.
Yeah. People just get hell bent on like, and this is getting me on some weird philosophical things, but people get hell bent on like wanting the realness, but yet they won't go do it. You know what I mean? Like they won't go harvest the life of that creature, or they won't, go harm the animal, or, and yet they want it. They're like, I know it's not real. It's like this weird trend, and I'm so upset about it.
That's a really good point. Yeah. It's like, I'm just thinking kind of like backwards here from what you just mentioned, like the synthesized rhino horn, that's exactly the same. I could see how that would also open up a market being like, oh, well, that's, just the fake one. I want the one that is, someone went out and killed a rhino. And it's just like, you're just paying someone to do that. And it's the exact same thing. Like why? That doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah. It's so frustrating. And also like, this is going to be a controversial statement as a vegan, but like, if somebody is out there hunting and killing their own animals, I will give them less flack than someone that goes to the store and picks up a styrofoam tray of meat. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I don't find that controversial. I think a lot of,
well, because you're a good dude, man. Like a lot of people, like I've talked to I haven't talked to a lot, but I've talked to other people, other vegans, and they're like, no, but hunting still kills the animal. Don't you think that's bad? I'm like, yeah, it is bad. It's great. It's not great. Like I'm doing great on my protein. I'm fine. But if you're gonna consume the flesh of an animal, wouldn't you rather have someone that actually killed the animal do it, instead of like all the horrible things that happen from the killing of an animal to like the people butchering an animal to like all those things, and people just they don't see eye to eye. I'm like, this is so confusing to me.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to like the militant vegans, I guess, who only see in black and white kind of. And I also feel like this is a little bit controversial to some people, like those kind of people. But I actually kind of see, I mean, I feel like it's not that controversial actually, that morality is like a scale. It's like a spectrum to an extent. And I think this is kind of like, it's because you kind of lose the simplicity of the black and white thinking in this way. But I think that it's very easy to still make rational assumptions with what is like more ethical or not. Do you follow Mike Israetel by any chance? That
I know who he is. Yeah, I don't like follow him hardcore, but I mean, I have used their free products, and I have like watched their YouTube videos, and that dude's like extremely smart and extremely jacked. So yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
So I really like him for all of like his training information, but he did a big video on veganism and the ethics of veganism. And I thought it was actually pretty well thought out, I would say, but also there were some like kind of stupid things in there, but it was way better than I thought it would be. So he like very much promotes the idea of veganism, and he just pokes holes in like some nuances, saying that it's like a spectrum, which is kind of what I just said. But then he like really reaches for some stuff. And I think that there's like a degree of just being rational enough to be like, all right, that's reaching so hard, you know?
Yeah. So I'm going to watch this video now.
It's long. It's like an hour long, but it made me
Dude, I'm
think.
on summer. I've got nothing else to do.
I mean, yeah, this is an hour long podcast already. So but yeah, it's a good listen. He kind of made me think like it's someone's perspective who eats meat, but he's like, when lab grown meat comes out, I'm gonna eat it 100%, like just strictly eat that. And then he made like the arguments that I don't necessarily maybe agree with completely, but it made me kind of be a little more like, okay, well, I can see his points about like morality being a spectrum, and it's not as black and white as some people make it out to be. So that's
Mhm.
kind of like it's a bit of a tangent there, but it's a good little listen if you feel like giving it an hour.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I mean, I'll put it on and like unpack stuff from the move and
Yeah,
listen to it.
yeah. If you listen to it, let me know what you think, because there he brought up some things where I was like, what the fuck? I don't know. It made me think a little bit.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
All right, man. So I kept you for like about an hour already, and I know you have stuff to do. So, is there anything else that you think we didn't get to touch on too much yet, or you want to add? You
I just
think?
think that everybody should give equipped lifting a chance, honestly. Like look into it. If you're into powerlifting at all, like I know that you're into being svelte and handsome, but if you're into like being like extreme pure strength powerlifting, give it a chance. It sucks. It feels like your head's gonna explode, but
Mhm.
it's the most fun I've ever had. It's like going from stock car racing to full
Uh-huh.
drag. So it's like pretty fun.
Do you find the fun in it just being more weight on your back and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it feels like you're gonna like explode, like hitting depth. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I posted the videos on my Instagram before, but like when I squatted the state record, it wasn't that heavy, but it was like
Mhm.
557. I hit depth clearly, you can totally tell, but like getting there feels like your head's gonna literally pop off, and that's kind of the fun in it, in my opinion.
Mhm. That's yeah, I never thought about I guess what kind of scares people a lot is just that learning curve and like not knowing,
Oh
because it's not as popular as
yeah,
raw lifting. I know it was way more popular than raw lifting, and then raw powerlifting just took over. So I think people just don't,
yeah.
yeah. I think people just
I
don't
think
get the
it's
learning curve.
I think it's more that you generally excuse me, you generally need a team because
Mm.
I've gotten stuck in my gear and I've had to go like inside, like especially in the bench shirt, because it's extremely hard to get off.
Mhm.
Going inside looking like a mummy and being like to my wife, being like, please take this off, pull it off.
Help.
And she has to like pull it off like a hockey jersey, you know? And so
Babe, help
it's
me. I'm fucking
it's
stuck.
and so especially if you train by yourself or if you're in like a globo gym, say, you know, you're gonna get looked at hella weird if you pull
Yeah,
out like a
yeah.
bench shirt. But if you have the access to either some friends or if you have the access to a powerlifting gym, I would highly recommend checking out Equipped Lifting. Look for the old timey dudes. It's usually old timey dudes. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm only 33, but it's usually older dudes, and they have it. You could talk to them. They'll probably share. They might have gear for sale that's really cheap. Always buy your first gear used. You don't know how it's gonna fit, so always buy gear used. Um, but yeah, I would really highly recommend if anybody's interested in powerlifting, don't shit on equipped lifting because it's
Mhm.
pretty fun.
That's awesome, man. That's good to hear, because a lot of people like I kind of talked to you about before, no one does equip lifting really anymore. So
No, they don't.
it's yeah, it's really cool to hear your perspective on it, and it's clear that you are really passionate about it. So that's awesome, man. That's great to hear.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's they literally had to open up a subdivision just for me at the most last meet. I emailed the meet director and I was like, can you please open an equipped lifting division so I can compete? And then I used to train at that gym. So she responded, she's like, oh, of course, we got it for you. Don't worry. And so they put it in. But yeah, don't be afraid also if you do train equipped to email meet directors, because more than likely they'll do it for you. You just got they don't do it because no one has an interest in it. I was the only
Mhm.
equipped lifter there, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you got to talk to people and they're more than likely going to do it for you.
So it was just you at that whole meet,
Yeah.
like for
Well,
equipped.
I mean, yeah, it was everybody else was there, and then it was like, okay, and Eddie's coming up, and I was like, ah, all right.
That's great. All right, cool, man. Yeah, so that was awesome. Where can people find you on social media and connect with you? Or what about like do you post all your lifting stuff on there or anything?
I do. So I use
Okay.
Instagram mostly. It's at Eddie.Baumgartner,
Okay.
Baumgartner. I'm sure you'll post that. But
Mhm.
also I do stream a lot on Twitch. If people want to follow me there, it's the Agent Baum, like my last name, Baum. It's
Mhm.
mostly weird shit, mostly Minecraft and Destiny. But if you want to follow me, I'm going to come back and do some. So I do hot eating challenges on Twitch and playing video games, and it's really wild. But if anybody wants to do that, Twitter I use, but I don't really use. So mostly Instagram and then Twitch. Honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't get into talking about the video games today, but I'm a complete nerd. I'm a fucking weeb too. I love anime and manga. So yeah, maybe you can come on another time or something and we could talk nerdy stuff and hot sauce, because I'm also a hot sauce junkie.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Next time, 100% we'll talk about that stuff.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, thanks so much, Eddie. And thanks for coming on. And that was a great chat, man.
Cool. Awesome, man. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Aethix Approach podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, it would mean a ton if you gave the podcast a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, Stitcher, Player FM, Pinecast, or any other service you're listening to, and subscribe to the Aethix Fitness YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook page. Feel free to check out the articles, training and nutrition programs, and merch on aethixfitness.com. And if you like what I'm making, dropping a like, commenting, and sharing would really, really help me out. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.